I never thought my quiet suburban life would turn into a full-blown standoff. But that's exactly what happened last Tuesday. It all started with a knock on my door. Not just any knock, but the kind of insistent, demanding pounding that makes your heart jump into your throat. When I looked through the peephole, I saw them. 2 people in matching polo shirts with our neighborhood logo. It was Brenda, the HOA president, and her right-hand man. Gary ID had a few run-ins with them before over things like the exact shade of beige on my mailbox, but this felt different. I opened the door just a crack. Brenda was already talking, her voice sharp. "We need to see your backyard." Now, I was taken aback. "Excuse me." "Why?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Gary, who always looked like he was smelling something bad, chimed in. "We've had reports of a violation. A major one. We need to conduct an immediate inspection." A violation? I had no idea what they were talking about. My backyard was my private sanctuary. I just finished building a new deck and a small koi pond. A project I'd poured my heart and soul into. What kind of violation? Primera breast. Brenda crossed her arms, a smug look on her face. "That's what the inspection is for. According to the bylaws, we have the right to inspect any property for compliance." I knew the bylaws. Probably better than they did. I'd read them cover to cover when I moved in, and I knew for a fact they couldn't just barge onto my property without proper notice. And a very good reason. "No," I said firmly. "You don't have the right to just demand entry. My backyard is private property. You can send me a written notice with a specific reason, and we can schedule something." This was not the answer they wanted. Brenda's face turned a shade of red I'd never seen before. "We are the HOA. We are entering your property. If you don't cooperate, there will be fines. Significant fines." Gary took a step forward, trying to push past me. That's when my protective instincts kicked in. I put my hand on the door to block him. "You are not setting foot on my property without my permission," I said, my voice low and serious. "You are trespassing." They started yelling then, spouting off rule numbers and threatening me with every penalty in the HOA handbook. They were causing a scene. My neighbors started peeking out their windows. It was humiliating. Brenda pointed a finger at my face. "We know you built something back there without approval. We have photos." "Photos? How could they have photos?" It hit me. My neighbor on the other side, the one who always seemed a bit too interested in everyone's business, must have been spying and sent them pictures from his second-story window. The whole thing felt like a gross invasion of privacy. I knew I had followed every single rule. I had submitted my plans for the deck and the pond months ago. I had the approval letter, signed by Brenda herself, filed away safely. They were either completely incompetent, or this was a personal power trip. Either way, I wasn't backing down. I looked them both in the eye. "You have 10 seconds to get off my porch before I call the police." Gary scoffed. "Go ahead. They'll side with us. We're the authority here." So I did. I closed and locked the door, leaving them shouting on my porch. I dialed 911 and calmly explained the situation. "There are 2 people from my HOA on my property who are refusing to leave and are trying to force their way into my house." The dispatcher was professional and said an officer would be there shortly. Through the window, I could see Brenda and Gary pacing, looking furious, but also a little unsure of themselves now. They probably thought I was bluffing. Less than 10 minutes later, a sheriff's car pulled up. A tall, calm-looking deputy got out and walked up my driveway. Brenda immediately launched into her tirade, pointing at my house and talking a mile a minute. The deputy listened patiently, then turned and knocked on my door. I opened it and he asked for my side of the story. I explained that they had shown up without notice, demanded entry, and refused to leave when I asked them to. I also mentioned that I had the approved plans for my backyard project. He asked if I could show him the approval. "Of course, officer," I said. I went to my office, pulled out the folder, and brought back the letter, the one with Brenda's own signature at the bottom. The deputy took the letter and walked back over to Brenda and Gary. I couldn't hear everything they said, but I could see the deputy's expression. He was not impressed. He pointed to the signature on the letter and then gestured for them to leave. Brenda's face crumpled. All the bluster was gone. She looked at the letter, then at the deputy, and then at me standing in my doorway. She didn't say a word, The deputy said something to them, his voice firm and final. They turned around, walked to their car, and drove away without another glance. The deputy came back to my door. "They won't be bothering you again today," he said. "If they do, or if they try to enter your property without your consent, call us immediately. What they were doing is called trespassing." I thanked him profusely. He just nodded and said, "Just doing my job. Have a good day, ma'am." As he left, I felt this incredible wave of relief and vindication. I had stood up for myself, and I had won the best part. The next day, I received a formal, written apology from the HOA management company. Apparently, my call to the sheriff caused quite a stir. They also confirmed my project was fully compliant. Brenda and Gary were temporarily suspended from their duties pending a review. It just goes to show you, know your rights, stand your ground, and don't be afraid to call for backup when someone tries to bully you on your own property. It was a stressful 10 minutes, but the peace and quiet I have now, totally worth it. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever had a crazy HOA encounter, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about fighting back and winning.